Welcome back. I want to show you something else that's interesting. Let's go back to GitHub, sign in, go to Setup Git, download our native app instead. Now I'm sure they have a bunch of different versions for Linux or for Apple, whatever. That will be down here. If you download this GitHub for Windows, it's an executable. I'm not going to actually run it because I actually have it already installed, but imagine installing it. No changes. Go to github.inc. I'm sorry, GitHub, Inc. GitHub. It's actually a pretty decent Windows client. Just starting to look at it. In other words, if you wanted to see whether or not you had changes to commit or not, you'd have to go into Eclipse and then load a project and so forth and so on. It's sort of a pain. Instead, let's go directly to the Windows client. I'm going to log into GitHub. It already has my password saved, but if you click this, it'll ask you for a user password. Look at your repositories. If you weren't sure if your repositories were shown, let me go back to that. Repositories, I believe I can say scan for repositories. Or maybe, let's see. Options. One of these things that is scan for, there it is, scan for repository. So if there was a repository that was on my local machine that wasn't in this list, if I did scan for repositories, it goes through and looks for the repository signature on your machine and will prompt you that there's a new repository. Either way, if it did show, you would check it and select it that you're going to track it. This one's class project. If I looked at it, let's open it up. You notice first I look to see it says no uncommitted changes, and it gives me the 2 commits that we just did in our previous. The last thing that was just committed, you notice that it actually gives me a diff, so it tells me this was what was changed. The first commit, it'll give me all the different things that were changed. Because it's a new thing, everything's green, right? Let's see, and by the way, if there was a change to push, I can actually publish from here. Pretty neat. Let's do this real quick. Let's say I'm going to close out of this and close out of this. Go back to Eclipse. And I'm going to go back into this guy and say second change here. Okay. I'm curious what's going to happen if I go back into the Git. It may or may not see the change. I think I have to commit it in Eclipse for it to see the change in my Git. But let's see what happens. If I go to class projects. No uncommitted changes. Oh, I'm sorry, it says uncommitted changes, excuse me. So it tells me that there is a change to commit. Say my second, and by the way, second change is here. Figured that out. It's pretty cool. Change my second change and commit. Okay, let's see what happens. Commit to master. Pretty cool. The change is committed. Let's go back and see if there's any other uncommitted changes. There's none. Sweet. Let's go. Let's try to publish it. See what happens. So publishing. My hope is that it pushes it to GitHub. Let's see what happens. Looks like it's good to me. Let's take a look over in GitHub, see what happened. I don't care about help. Let me go to this guy. Go to class project. Remember that was my second change and commit. Pretty cool. Let's go to source, com package, servlet, and wow, look at that. Second change was here. So the point of that Windows client, this little Windows program, is I don't have to sign on to Eclipse and dig through what was changed, what wasn't changed, what was committed. I can actually perform the commit with the Windows client and do a quick push. That's sync, by the way. Let's give it a test. Let's see if I go into that class project and let's edit that on the server directly and see if it can be pulled back. I haven't tried this yet, so this is sort of walking without a tightrope. Let me click edit. Okay, I guess it tells me I'm editing. Change on server, and I'm looking for the save button, and let's commit the change. Alright, change on server, you see the changes committed. Now what's going to happen if I go over to here and say sync, which should do a get. Look at that. Update my servlet Java. The reason why I have a green and red, the green says this is a new, the red says this is delete. An update really is a remove and an add, really. So if you think about it, this is what's left on the server, and this was what was removed. Pretty neat. Let's take a look at Eclipse. I'm pretty sure I'd have to at least close it and reopen it. Yes, look at that. Change on server. It automatically pushed it down to my machine. Now, if I didn't do a sync, in other words, if I didn't do a sync here, or a sync or a get on the Eclipse side, it would not have pulled that down. Awesome. So that's a quick walk through the Windows GitHub program. And I'm sure there's a million different other things you can do with this. You can roll back a change if you wanted to. Let's go back. I can handle multiple projects. Excellent. Thank you very much. Bye.